What was your next move after graduation from Howard School of Law in 1956?
My next move was courtesy of the United States government. They asked me to come and help them out for a couple of years by serving in the United States Navy. I answered yes, and I went.
What was that like?
Well, it was a new experience being in the Navy. I was not an officer. I was drafted. I was in there to get my time over with and come out. And experiences in the Navy. I don't have any real regrets. I served my country, and I was able to see some of Europe, some of the Mediterranean anyway, and I did it.
Like after going over to Europe and coming back over to the United States?
Well, things were getting ready to change. Things were getting ready to change. I got out of the Navy in, 58? The winds of change were blowing.
Would you like to expound on that?
Well, you could see certain events that occurred. White primary in Texas, I think, was overturned. The mood of the country was moving toward equal rights. Truman integrated the armed. Well, no, that was in 48. And you could sort of feel that things were getting better.
When you returned from Europe and when you were finished with the U.S. Naval Reserve, you started your private practice.
Yes.
How did you go about doing that?
Well, I put my wife and myself in a car, and we towed a trailer down here to Nashville.
And where were you coming from?
Washington.
From Washington.
Yes, I got to Nashville, and we rented an apartment for, I believe, $50 a month. Pleasant place, but it fit the bill for right then. And we got a little furniture. I think I had a bedroom suite or something. But anyway, we did all right. My office was far from what your concept of office. All right, the office I had, first office in Nashville, was far from what you would perhaps imagine an office to be. My private space was defined by 2 or 3 file cabinets behind which I sat. And I had somewhat limited access to a telephone. It was in really a real estate office, just a corner in a real estate office. And, I had never had an office before, so that had to do for a while. And private practice then was, well, it's far different from what you imagine it. Students coming out now, taken into a nice firm, give her a computer, access to a library, didn't have any of that. I just had to tough it out and get it done by myself without any real assistance.
Now, you had your private practice from 1958 to 1966.
Yeah.
And then you began to Tennessee in 1963.
Yeah. Well, for the county, really.
Oh, the county. Okay.
District attorney, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I had private practice along with that. That was not a full-time position.
What was your...
Well, it wasn't bad at all. The good thing about it is that I was not given cases involving black people only. He was a decent fellow. He was an honest man and a forward-looking person who didn't have any segregation among the staff. And while I was the only black attorney general, my cases were not assigned to me based on race. So that was a very good experience.
What type of court cases did he give you?
Criminal stuff. It was all criminal.
It was all criminal?
Yeah. Larceny, forgery, whatever, bad checks, murder, rape, robbery.
Did you like representing? Did you like the actual participation? The prosecution, yes.
Well, I enjoyed the courtroom experience. Obviously, you cannot enjoy the result of what you do, seeing somebody go to jail or seeing somebody locked up, but you realize that you're doing your job and that you're trying to do it with as much compassion and understanding as you can, and you just keep on doing it.
When did you become interested in the positions of the state government in Tennessee?
You mean, well, I guess I became interested in it when I realized that there was a possibility. It was closed to me from 58 to 63 because the person in the position then, just simply tell you.
Now, after you've kind of put your foot in the door working for the county and then also having your private practice, which did you prefer?
Well, I liked both of them, really. Both each had its merits.
What were those merits?
Well, working for the county, you have a responsibility that goes beyond yourself, goes beyond one client. You represent really the state of Tennessee or Davidson County, which gives you a greater responsibility, a greater sense of obligation. And then when you represent private persons, you're more focused on their particular, his or her particular need or problem. And it's the narrow focus and the greater focus. But both were beneficial.
Now, in 1957 and 59 and 62 marked significant history-making events for you in your life. In 57, you earned your bar admission to the Supreme Court of Tennessee, and in 59, the United States District Court, Middle District of Tennessee, and the United States Court of Appeals in 1962. Can you tell me how you felt after each of those events had took place?
Well, I guess the greatest exhilaration came when I found out I had passed the bar, because I was still in the Navy, remember, in 57. I took the bar while I was in the Navy. I studied for the bar aboard ship and came to Tennessee, took the bar, and then went back, to my duty. And I found out that I'd passed, and that was the climax. The other admissions to the district court and the court of appeals were anticlimactical. The big climax was passing that bar while I was still in the Navy.
Now, one of the longest positions you served was the General Sessions Court of Davidson County for 10 years, and before moving to the Criminal Court of Davidson County Judge for 9 years. It was obvious that those are two different positions and have different responsibilities. What were some of the responsibilities and how did they differ?
Well, they differed. Both require judgment, the use of good judgment, and the knowledge of law and applying it. But they differ in the sense that in General Sessions Court, the amount of money at stake is limited. Was limited then to, I think, $3,000. Anything above $3,000 had to go to a different. In General Sessions courts, you really get the small offense and the husband-wife battles, things that ordinary people are involved in, and by involving yourself in that court, you just see a cross-section of America. You see all sorts of things. Criminal court is different, where I served, where there was a jury trials, rape, robbery, murder, kidnapping, burglary, arson, all those felony offenses, and they're much more serious. And a jury, you know, you have to manage the jury and handle that, and those are the ways in which it's very different. There are no juries in General Sessions Court.